everyone. My name is Marie-Therese Swabey. I'm a teacher and a teacher trainer, and my session today is about teachers and about what's been going on with teachers in the last year or so. To start off with, just to say I'm not with the University of Granada, so I don't know. That's something that's got nothing to do with me, really. But really, I'm a teacher and a teacher trainer, as I said. And over the last year, I think that teachers need to really and truly be totally congratulated on the way in which they have adapted to this COVID situation, and people who have not taught before online have adapted and moved all of their classes to online teaching. So my talk today is going to be about, as I said, about teachers. And we're going to talk about what teachers have been doing in the last year or so. And we're going to look at some of the technology that people have used in their online classes. And then I hope towards the end of the session that we're going to be able to spend some time where I introduce you to some of the concerns and problems that teachers have raised about online teaching, and ask you to think about how you as language testers, because these are teachers that are preparing students for your exams, how you as language testers can help teachers moving forward. Before we start, though, before I begin, this is a workshop. So my idea of a workshop is that I talk and that you talk as well. So just to begin with, I want to make sure that everybody has access to and understands how to use the chat box, because I'm going to be asking you as we go along to add comments in the chat box as we go along. So please, could everybody right now, this minute, go into, on the left-hand side, there's a green telephone. If you haven't used this before, go click on the green telephone, go into the chat box. You'll see possibly not a chat box. You'll see a list of names, but you'll see 3 talking heads. Next to that, there's a link to a chat box. Please, could everybody write a comment right now, just so that I can see that you all have access to the chat box and that you're able to interact. So thank you so much. I can see lots of people saying hello. Thank you so much. Somebody from fantastic. Oh, lovely. Okay, so I'm pleased to see that everybody can access the chat box. So every now and then I'll fling out a question, and I'd very much appreciate it if you'd talk back to me and talk to each other as well. First of all, I'd like to start about talking about what happens and what is happening with teachers. In your context, I'm not entirely sure, but I'll tell you a little what happened with us. So last year, in January or February of last year, the pandemic really started to hit areas of the world, and China. Teachers in China, schools were shut down, and teachers were told to move their lessons online. We at Cambridge Assessment English, in conjunction with FutureLearn, had recently developed a course called Teaching English Online. And I got a call from Cambridge Assessment saying, our China office has asked, could you run your course Teaching English Online, because Chinese teachers have been asked to move their classes online. So on the 16th of March last year, we ran, the course incidentally is a free course, it's a MOOC, and it operates on FutureLearn, which is a platform that runs free courses, for those of you that don't know. And so on the 16th of March last year, we ran our first version for 2020 of Teaching English Online. As of today, as of this last week, we are now running for the 5th time our Teaching English Online course. And over the last year, we are now coming up to having something like 300,000 teachers who have joined the course and participated in the course in order to develop their skills in online teaching. Because as I said, overnight, teachers who had little or no experience of teaching English online were faced with the situation where that was going to be their context. To begin with, we didn't have a great number of people, because I think people thought that, you know, the online thing would last for a month or two or a few weeks. But as the year has developed and as it's become clearer and clearer that classroom face-to-face teaching was not going to come back straight away, we've had more and more people who have come to do the course. And I think the thing that we were able to do in the teaching online course is to say to teachers, you don't have to change your understanding of methodology, and you don't have to change the way that you teach students. You just need to adapt a little bit to the online situation. So perhaps some right now, you would like to share a little bit about what you know about teachers in your context and how those teachers have had to adapt to teaching in an online context. Again, please use the chat box for that purpose. Somebody's asked the question about what we mean by online teaching. I mean, having to stay in your house and having to stay in your house and teach your students it from your house instead of having to go into school. Somebody else has just posted in the chat box that they did the course. Thank you so much. That's really interesting. And thank you, Thomas, for posting the link. We're running the latest version of the course right now. It's version 8 of the course. So what we learned initially is that actually teachers were just sort of, okay, great. We're getting some examples now of what happened to teachers in schools. And we have somebody's talking here about hybrid learning, about doing a bit online and a bit face-to-face, and teachers having to teach online using Skype and WhatsApp and platforms like Zoom and Padlet. And I think that's exactly what happened. And I think as we have progressed throughout the year, I think teachers have really stepped up to the challenge and have understood that actually there are benefits to online teaching. And there are some things that we do in online teaching that we'll be able to take with us to the face-to-face classroom. And somebody in the chat has just raised the issue, Margarita, I think it is, about testing online. And I think that is a really, really major issue, and partly why we're having the conversation that we're having right now. So I'd like to try and show you, I'm not sure that the technology will work, but I'd like to try and show you some examples now of how teachers have adapted their teaching to online work, and some of the tools that have been used by teachers. So one of my kind of all-time favorite pastimes is watching teachers and watching lessons. As a teacher trainer, I spend a lot of my time doing that. So I have a few examples here. And again, I'd like you to use the chat box. I'm going to show you a couple of bits of technology and bits of lessons that teachers use. And I'd like you to watch and to think about what is the aim of this part of the lesson. What is the teacher using the technology for? So the first example of technology being used is an app called WordWall, please could you watch and say what you think the tool is being used for? Oh. So this is kind of supposed to be a video.
Hi, Marie-Therese. If you just click next, the video should start.
Okay, and click next.
Or the little arrow, sorry. Click the arrow and onto the next slide.
Ready, steady, go. Ready, steady, go.
Hi.
Thank you.
Now I see you. Hi. Who will share?
Now I see you.
I can share.
Who will share?
Okay.
Girls.
I can share.
Okay.
Okay.
Oh.
So,
Okay. Let's start.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Let's start.
Okay.
Already did.
Very clever decision.
Okay. Already did.
Very clever decision. I know this means to care of. It means to take responsibilities.
I know this means to care of. It means
To neglect
to
is
take
the opposite.
responsibilities.
So
To neglect is the
To
opposite.
give in, I agree.
You, I don't know.
To give in,
Synonym.
to pay attention to,
Opposite is, I don't know.
to pay attention
I
to,
think to ignore, yes. I agree. Maria.
And
ignore,
to give in
Attention, I think to ignore, yes, I agree with Maria.
Yeah, maybe.
to give in is to be stubborn.
But
Yeah, maybe.
I don't actually
What?
put the right meeting put on.
But I don't
to
actually
put
the right meeting put
okay,
on.
girls, we
I mean,
have
to
this.
put off.
yes, we have.
What does it mean? Oh, okay, girls, we have this.
Yes, we have sentence.
Mhm.
It's like delay something. To
Mhm.
put off.
It's like delay something. To
Mhm.
put off.
Ready, steady, go.
Hi.
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 Now I see you. Who will share? Girls.
I
okay, thank you very much. So yes, lots of people have noted that the aim of this part of the lesson is vocabulary. In fact, the teacher is introducing vocabulary. She put the students into breakout rooms. One of the students shared their screen, and they then did the activity. WordWall is an app where you can create quizzes or games or matching exercises or putting things in order exercises, and it gives the learners a little bit of variety in the lesson. Later on in the lesson, the teacher uses WordWall again, and I'm going to be really brave and try and show you a little bit of the teacher doing that in the lesson. So here we go with another little clip. So the teacher got the students back together in the main room, did some concept checking, did some work on form, and then just wanted to do a little check to make sure that the students understood the words one last time. So here we go with this. Again, please make any comments in the chat box as you watch.
All right, let's check. All right, let's check. What is it?
To be stubborn. To be stubborn.
What is it? Great.
To be stubborn.
To be stubborn.
Great.
To take care.
To take care.
Take care of. Correct.
To take care of.
Take care of. Correct.
To be under the pressure of.
when we feel like we are under some pressure, we're uncomfortable.
To pay attention to. No?
You are bad. You are wrong. You are doing a bad job. Something like this.
To criticize for.
Correct. Criticize for. This one.
To
To
give
give
in.
in.
To give in. To give in.
To put.
To get on with.
To get on with. Correct. Let's say all together. To get on with.
Get on
To
with.
get on with.
This is puts off. To put off.
To put off.
To put off. Good.
Pay attention to.
Fantastic. Okay, so as everybody said, reviewing the vocabulary, correcting pronunciation, and showing visual images. Thank you, Irene, for that. Showing visual images of the vocabulary they've learned. So this is a kind of consolidation matching exercise. So word wall, somebody said in the chat box that it's complicated to prepare, but actually I watch lessons all the time, and teachers are fantastically adept at adapting stuff and creating new tasks. And bearing in mind, as a teacher, once you create the activity that one time, you can use that same task with different classes. I'm quickly going to show you another example of another app that I think everybody probably knows about, Padlet. Padlet for me. So when we do the Teaching English Online course, we suggest to teachers that they don't kind of bombard students with apps and digital tools and so on. That they really try and choose one or two tools that they can use in different types of lessons. So Padlet really is a very versatile tool that can be used in all kinds of lessons. So the slide I'm showing you now shows a teacher who is preparing students for a writing exam, and the students are going to write a story, a narrative. The advantage of doing it on Padlet is that the teacher is able to see what the students are writing throughout the lesson. So it means that they are able to, she is able to give them real-time feedback as they write. The advantage also is that students are able to share each other's work. So Padlet can be used for writing. It can also be used for speaking lessons or speaking tests, because the students can record what they say onto Padlet. That can then be sent back to the teacher, where the teacher can listen and evaluate, or it can be done as a classroom activity where students listen to each other's recordings. Maybe they have a checklist, an evaluation checklist that they complete while they're listening. And so they listen to the checklist, they listen to the thing, go through the checklist, and give a bit of feedback to each other as they go along. Okay, so
and now it's of course the time to choose the.
We also have the possibility, when we do the Teaching English Online course, we also talk a little bit about flipped learning and flipping the classroom. So we have examples of, we give an example of a teacher preparing a grammar lesson where the presentation of the grammar work is done offline in their own time. And then the time that the teacher spends in class with the students is devoted to practicing. So thinking really about what is value for money, and what do students need to do with the teacher present, and what do they not need to do when the teacher's present. So we also during the course invite participants to prepare a little bit of something and to share it with the other participants on the course. And I have an example for you of somebody preparing a presentation of a grammar point. And of course, your task while you watch is to say, what is the grammar point?
Hello, everybody. Hello, everybody. I'm drinking a cup of tea. I'm drinking a cup of tea. I'm writing in my book. I'm writing in my book. I'm reading. I'm reading. The man is smiling. The birds are flying. Let's repeat. I'm drinking. I'm writing. I'm reading. The man is smiling. The birds are flying. Okay, now it's your turn. You repeat. I'm drinking. I'm writing. You repeat.
Fantastic. So, yeah, everybody, that was an easy question, wasn't it? Present continuous for actions taking place now. Thank you, Jackie. Yeah. So as we have developed as teachers have developed their skills over the year, teachers are now using flipped classroom approaches. So they prepare presentations, present it to the students. The students do the preparation work at home before the lesson, and then when they come to the lesson, in the lesson they'll do practice activities. They'll practice writing, perhaps. They'll practice speaking, perhaps. Okay, so I want now to having shown you a few examples, I'd like to move into the bit where I show you some examples of concerns that teachers have right now, moving forward, about preparing their learners for different tests. So for this activity, I'm going to ask you to work in breakout rooms. But before we do that, there are a couple of one or two things that I'd like to set up. First of all, I'm just putting into the chat box a link to a Padlet. Please could you all click on the link and open this Padlet board. The Padlet board, you will see, has these concerns that are raised by teachers. In your groups, I'd like you to choose one or two or three concerns that the teachers have. Talk to each other about the concern and how you think you as a language tester would be able to help the teacher with this problem. Decide together what your solution to the problem is, and then please write the answer, the solution, on Padlet. Could you tell me right now in the chat box if you think you would be able to do this? Thank you. Interesting. Thank you so much, and thank you for your comments in the Padlet. I'm interested to see that in fact there are concerns that people haven't chosen, which relate specifically to materials and resources. And really and truly, materials and resources is absolutely the number one concern that teachers have about moving online. I think maybe as language testers, as teachers, as teacher trainers, we really need to work on the publishers to try and help us to provide stuff for teachers. I know that that over the last year, CUP and Cambridge Assessment have been providing lesson plans for teachers who have been preparing learners for Cambridge exams. And in fact, I was involved in writing some of the early material, converting the lesson plans that were already in the Support for Teachers website, converting them to online lessons and teaching online. And so I think that there's a lot more that publishers and language testers can do in helping teachers to provide resources, sample packs, and that sort of thing for teachers. I think also the issue of standardizing and marking students' work and students' practice tests is also an issue. So thank you so much, everyone. I think we have 5 minutes or so left, and so I'd like to be brave and do an any questions. So if there are any things that you'd like to raise or talk that we can talk about now together about teaching online, about preparing learners for lessons online. We have the possibility of you raising the question in the chat box as before, and hopefully we also have the possibility of possibility of you coming up on the screen sort of thing. So somebody, I'm sorry, I'm trying to multitask. You can tell, can't you? Somebody's just asked me to put the link for the course that I was talking about. So this is I'll just put it, I'm sorry, a bit of self-advertising here. I'm just putting it in the chat box. The course is called Teaching English Online, and it's on the Future Learn platform. Oh, thank you, Jackie. Thank you so much for adding a link as well. So we're on run 8. So the course started, this is week 2 of the course that we're in now, but actually the course will continue to run throughout the year. We now just run it continuously back to back, so that teachers, and you can join at any time that you want to join, and you have access free for 6 weeks. If you want a certificate, then you need to upgrade. But you don't have to upgrade if you don't want to. So please, can we do any questions? So either raise your hand if you'd like to come on the screen, or put a question in the chat box. Thank you so much. I can see that people are typing an issue. Okay, so this is a question from Betty. An issue to pursue is students having different internet capabilities, which with different effects on what they're able to do. For example, in oral presentation. Absolutely. I think next to the issue of resources, the number 2 issue that we have is people talking about not only internet access, but also access to devices. So when the pandemic started, teachers were teaching on cell phones. It is immensely difficult to do that. Students were attending class on cell phones, and that is also immensely difficult to do. I think as things have progressed, people have improved the devices that they're using, but we still have issues with internet access and connection issues. So, for example, many teachers have to teach students who have their cameras switched off, because when you have your camera switched on, it takes up more internet space. So in order to be able to reduce the connection issues, people switch off their cameras, and it is the weirdest thing to be teaching. It's the weirdest thing to be teaching with cameras switched off, because you feel a bit like you're teaching people that are in a cupboard. So we have Sabina has raised a question here. Class interaction only works if everybody's willing to switch on cameras and microphones. And you mentioned, absolutely, I think you're right, but sometimes the internet issues and connection issues mean that switching off the camera is the only possibility. But I do think it's interesting, because we're having this conversation right now on the Teaching English Online course, and I give the example of students entering the room, switching off the camera. It's like they all go in the cupboard, and people make excuses about cultural issues and religious issues and all of those sort of things. But I think oftentimes it's not that; it's that that students aren't getting out of bed. And so what we're saying is, we need to encourage our students to attend online classes as if they were going to school. So you get out of bed, you have a shower, you get dressed, and you appear in class in that kind of mindset. And so that we encourage. Also, there are things that you can do with the devices that you have. So, for example, if you're using Zoom has a side-by-side option in the viewing. so that students are able to see the screen and they are able to see each other, but they need to know how to do that. It's important, I think, that students learn how to use the platform themselves, so that they can make best use of the devices that they've got, and so that they don't just have to sit. Attending a lesson is not watching TV, so we shouldn't have students just sitting being passive. If you teach young learners, I think it's really important that they get up and they move about, and that they do stuff that involves physical action. Thank you. Parents should be engaged in persuading their kids to turn on their cameras, get out of bed. Absolutely. I couldn't agree more. Thank you for that. And somebody, Maria, says that she gives credits depending on whether they're activating their camera, whether they're taking part. I think really some really major lessons are teaching students to use the platform and to get involved. You know, using the annotate feature, for example, using boards so that students can write stuff, they can write their answers, get students to use the chat box so they can type stuff and talk to each other. And it's important to remember that what you see on the screen is not the same as what they see. Everybody has to adjust their screen according to on their own devices. Great, thank you. So somebody, Jason, is saying it's important they need to know how to become online learners. Absolutely, absolutely. The gentleman's appeared next to me on the screen, and I have a feeling that that's giving me a message that I should perhaps be shutting up.
Not at all. This is a fascinating workshop, I must admit. Very lively, very energetic, and perfectly self-managed. So I admire your style, Marie-Therese.